Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Office of Career and Professional Development today. My name is Kristen Swims, and I'm a career counselor within the office. I wanted to let you guys know up front that we're still doing career counseling appointments, which encompasses a variety of different topics, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Today, we're going to talk about job and internship search techniques. And then we have that caveat, of course, during COVID-19. So we're going to talk about some of those tried and true things that are true in any job and internship search, even during a pandemic. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things to consider, seeing that we are in a pandemic. So just to start us off, and you can in the chat box put whatever you feel the answer is to this question. The best way to find a job is A, internet job boards, B, friends and family, C, networking, or D, all of the above. I also want to take this time to let you know that you can add questions within the chat box as well, and I will get to those questions at the end of the presentation. All right, for all my people who answered D, all of the above, you are correct. You want to make sure that you are backing into the job and internship search a variety of different ways. And we're going to learn a little bit about some of those ways right now. So you want to make sure that you get strategic. I always tell my students in career development appointments that you want to add some structure to your search, because the job search and internship process can be very, very daunting. You're researching a variety of different places. You're applying to these places. You're potentially doing potential virtual interviews or over the phone interviews, and you want to make sure that you are adding a little structure. So what I like to do is create a list of the top 15 to 20 places that I want to apply to. These places, I know that I'm going to do my research on these places. I'm going to know their missions, their values. I'm going to be researching what type of jobs are being posted, how many jobs, which are those jobs that apply to me. I want those 5 top places. I definitely want to make sure I have a contact and I have an in those places, and I'm able to talk to a hiring manager. However that may look, it might be a virtual career fair. It might be an informational interview, which we'll talk a little bit about more later. But you want to make sure that you add some strategy and some structure here. You can use whatever method works for you, whether you're using a notebook, an Excel spreadsheet, or a Word document. For me, I like to use the Excel spreadsheet because it already has the pockets, and all you have to do is add your information in. You can add those top 15 to 20 companies. Do you have a contact within those companies? What positions did you apply for? What are their missions and values? Have you done a phone interview? Have you done a Skype or in-person interview? You can add that all in the same document, and you can go back to it so that you'll remember these things, and then it takes off some of that daunting feel of the job search. So using this extra time for career preparation during the pandemic, you can map out your short and your long-term professional and personal goals. I added personal goals because no matter how much we like to separate the two, those personal goals are going to intertwine with your professional goals as well. So giving yourself a little time to sit down and to map out what is it that you want, or how do you want to see yourself professionally and personally, within the next 2 to 3 years for those short-term goals, and the next 10 to 15 years for those long-term ones. This is the perfect time to refresh your CV or your resume, and we're going to talk about the resume in a couple of minutes. You also want to cultivate your relationships with your references and your mentors. This is a perfect time to pick up the phone and talk to your mentor a little bit, ask them a little bit about what's going on in your current field. What do they feel like the hiring rates are, and what are some key specific things that you can do within your field as well. And if you don't have a mentor, and if you don't have a solid list of references, this is the time to kind of think, who do you want to be your mentor? Who do you want to be your references? Think about those key people. Think about your professors. Think about different department chairs, staff at Roosevelt, or also think about those people who were your bosses or your leadership. All of these people can be potential references and mentors. And having a mentor is priceless. I have several mentors, and they really, really helped me to not only find my current positions, but also to build confidence within myself as a professional. And they're great people to go and bounce ideas off of. They have wealth of knowledge within your current field, hopefully, or just being a professional in general. So if you don't have a mentor, if you're an undergrad, Roosevelt has a professional mentoring program, and you can search that within the Roosevelt website. But there's all different kinds of ways to find a mentor as well. And we can totally talk about that in a career counseling appointment if that's something you want to do in the future. You can also learn a new skill. Take a class, hone the skills that you already acquired, attend webinars, earn a certificate. Obviously, a lot of the things that we are going to be doing right now is going to be online. But because we've had to adapt to the different changes, you're going to find some really excellent resources online. For me, I really am enjoying Indeed. They have a COVID resource section. And so I definitely would say go on to Indeed. They have webinars, they have Q&As, they have really, really good information. And I've attended several of their webinars, and I've learned a lot as a career counselor as well. So make sure that you are researching different places, different job boards who have COVID specific information. And then you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself within this time. Even though it's COVID time and we might not have as many responsibilities, it's still a very hectic time and unprecedented time. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and that's going to look different for everybody else. But self-care is really, really important. And so whatever that looks like for you, make sure that you're taking time to do that as well. So you want to make sure you know your professional narrative. And what might that be? When you think of narrative, you think of a story, right? It's your story. What do you want the employer to know about you? So what's really cool about this is that everybody has their own unique story. We're all bringing different skills, different experiences, different interests to the table. But if you don't know your own personal narrative, then you can't use it to your advantage. So you want to make sure that you have that hand of, this is what I do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want you to know about me specifically. So in order to kind of get those juices flowing, if you've never thought about it before, here are a couple of questions that you can ask yourself. What are my strengths, my skills, my weaknesses, or areas of improvement? Can you communicate these to the employer? Have you ever had to? Do you need practice on doing that? And are you ready to take on a full-time or part-time job? What's your mindset? This is even more important with COVID because we all have different situations. We're taking care of kids, we're taking care of parents, we might have our own health issues. Are you ready to take on a full-time or part-time job, whether it be virtual or in person? And you really want to think about this in the job search and make sure you know, because right now you might just be looking for a part-time virtual job, but you want to make sure that it's actually going to be part-time virtual, as opposed to, oh, we want you to come in for a couple of hours. So you need to really assess all of the information when you're dealing with kind of where do I see myself? Do I feel comfortable leaving my house? Do I feel comfortable being in an office setting? And then you also, when you get the chance, you want to ask employers, especially when you're doing a phone interview or virtual interview or maybe in person, what are you doing for your for the people who work here? Are you social distancing properly? Are you allowing some people to work virtually? You really want to make sure you have those lines of questions as well when you are learning a little bit more about a specific job and a specific company. And can you get there? Is it within your area? Because some of us might take public transportation. And as we know right now, they're limiting how many people are on the buses and the trains in each cart. And so you want to make sure that you can get there in a timely fashion. It's not too far away. There's a variety of things that you want to make sure that you have mapped out. And some of these things you might not have thought about before because we didn't have to, because we weren't in a pandemic. Okay, so here are some key things, and I actually got this resource from Indeed, how to stand out to a hiring manager during COVID-19. So the first thing is you want to make sure you read the job description thoroughly. Know what are those key roles and responsibilities. What are they looking for? Sometimes a lot of job postings will have their mission and their values right there. Make sure you're reading that. You want to include the key words from the job description. So are they looking for management? Are they looking for someone who has quantitative abilities? What are they looking for? Add those words directly into your resume. And sometimes it can be as easy as a word swap, but sometimes we might have to go back and kind of rearrange things a little bit, because you do want to cater your resume to each job you're applying for, just as you would your cover letter. Make your qualifications easy to find. So don't add fluff. Get straight to those specific roles and responsibilities. Get straight to that personal narrative. What do you want them to know about you? You do not have to add everything you've ever done within a resume or even within a position. Add those key things that would make you marketable. You can also locate unemployment and job resources near you. So Indeed has this really cool page where they have specific, based on your state, information and different resources for you. There's a variety of different resources that are currently out there. You don't want to miss out on those resources because they can really help you. So make sure you're doing that search on a variety of different websites, not just Indeed. It's important to research any companies that might be hiring in response to the pandemic. So maybe it's not directly in your field, but you need a job right now and you need to make some money before you get into a job that's directly in your field. So you want to research those companies as well. Clearly define what you are looking for and research the organizations that align with your needs and values. I'm going to keep reinforcing that within this presentation. Research is super, super important. And you can also build a visual or digital portfolio of your work, especially if it is relevant to your specific industry. So just a couple of tips on how to create a marketable resume. You want to make sure that you highlight your relevant experiences and your transferable skills. Create a professional, concise, and proofread resume. One of the surefire ways to get your resume thrown into the no pile by the hiring manager is having inconsistent formatting and having words that are misspelled. And you also want to make sure that your resume is skimmable and that it has action-oriented statements. So we're utilizing those bullet points. We're not writing in paragraph form. You're adding specific bullet points based on your roles and responsibilities. So I think that it's important to know, just as important to know what goes in a resume and as in what doesn't go in the resume. So like I said earlier, it's not a list of everything that you've ever done. After freshman and sophomore year, you do not have to add your high school experiences anymore. And sometimes I have conversations with students and they say, well, Kristen, I don't have much I was really active in high school, but I don't have much to add right now. That lets me know that you need to try to seek out the different things that are around you in your community as well as within your school so that you can add and so you can boost your resume up, but also boost your experiences up and your confidence up within your field or within just working with people. That being said, it could totally be a little bit harder to do that, obviously, online or in a pandemic. But what I am finding is that people are getting really good at, turning things into virtual. So don't miss out on some of those virtual opportunities as well. In your professional resume, you do not want to add the personal pronouns I, me, or my. I know that can get kind of difficult because obviously you're talking about yourself, but it's just one of those resume rules. In previous resumes, 10 years back, we'd have references directly on your resume or references available upon request. You do not want to have that in your resume. If you are creating a CV, you can have references you can have those references directly in your document. But what I'm going to say is that you do want to have a separate reference document if you have your resume, because it's really important to at least have 3 to 5 people who can speak to you as a professional and as an individual. And you want to have people who are going to be enthusiastic about talking about you. So make sure that you're working on that if you don't have a good reference list. You don't have to add pictures or photographs unless you're in a major such as performing arts, where that is regular. Or any fluff or non-essential information. So you do not have to add your interests. That used to be a big thing back in the day. Now we just keep it professional. So your resume is going to be 1 page usually. So if you have more than 10 years of experience within your field, then you can head on over to the 2nd page. Or if you have a master's degree or PhD, then you can head on to the 2nd page as well. You want to make sure that you're using legible fonts. Don't use anything like Cosmic Sans or any cursive fonts. You want to make sure the reader can read it, because if they can't read it, you're going in the no pile. And sometimes we have a lot of information we want to fit in that 1 page, but make sure that your font size is no smaller than 10 point and no larger than 12 point. I'm going to stress this to you guys. You do not want to use a template. Resume reader systems find it really, really hard to use a template, even the most well-formatted templates. What you want to do is start from a blank document. You can add your own little flares and your own, professional design utilizing bolds and caps and italics, but you don't want to overdo that as well. But if you take anything from the resume portion of this presentation, do not use a template. Start from a blank Word document. And you want to make sure that you are adding everything in reverse chronological order. So for each section, you add the most recent and then backwards. So we no longer use the term objective. Now we're using professional summary or summary of qualifications. You'll hear a variety of different terminologies for that. Resume profile. This is an example of what you are bringing to the table for a specific industry or for a specific job. And so I've asked hiring managers, do you guys look at the professional summary? And I've gotten a lot of yeses, because if you're going to add it, they want to know what you think about yourself as a candidate. So if you decide to add a professional summary, you want to make sure that it is actually a statement that's strong and it is speaking to your professional narrative. Next, you want to reflect on your accomplishments. So you don't want to just list everything that you've done in a job. I've seen students have 20 bullet points for one job. You don't want to do that. You want to hone in on some of those standout accomplishments or roles that you've had. Some of those experiences that you feel like make you an excellent candidate. So what I like to do when I'm creating my bullet points, remember I said you don't want to use paragraph formatting when you're talking about your roles and responsibilities for any job. what I like to do is utilize this format. And so you want to choose a power action verb. And when I think power action verb, I'm thinking of those words outside of helped, worked, used, responsible for. Those are so overused in a resume. So what I usually do is put in Google or tell my students power action verbs for resumes or power action verbs for psychology majors or economic majors, because they give you specific key ping words within your major. Plus task. So what did you do? And a lot of people stop right there. But you want to keep moving forward and say, well, how did you do it? And why did you do it? Equals results. So based on what you did, what happened? Who benefited? What type of impact did it have? Now, it's important to know that for not every role and responsibility will we know a specific result. But if we do, then add it, because hiring managers love to see results. They want to see results on their job, so they want to see results in your previous experiences. And whatever you can, quantify when possible. Pull out those numbers. So this is an example of how to create a bullet point plus. So a basic bullet point would be develop lesson plans for students. So that doesn't give the hiring manager a view of exactly what you did and how you did it. A better bullet point, what I like to call a bullet point plus, is develop individual learning goals and lesson plans to cater 89 students' needs in reading and math, resulting in 80% of students improving by a grade level. So what you see here, I learned a little bit more. I learned that I'm creating individualized plans for 89 students. That lets me know that I can handle a lot. And I did this in both reading and math, so it gives them a view of what type of lesson plans I was creating. And it lets them know that I've seen results based on the roles and responsibilities that I've had. So I challenge you to do the same within your bullet points. All right. So you want to make sure you hone on those transferable skills as well. Sometimes we have worked in positions that don't directly align with our major. That's fine. You do want to add those if it makes sense. But all you have to do then is hone in on your transferable skills. So these are skills that you've acquired through your educational experiences, internships, work, volunteering, campus involvement, and just living life in general. So some of those hot transferable skills are communication, analytical thinking, problem solving, organization, interpersonal skills. And so we all have these skills from just living life in general. You want to make sure that you hone up on those transferable skills. And I also like to look into transferable skills for my specific major. So transferable skills for higher education majors or for math majors, because it gives you those specific skills that people are looking for within your industry. All right, we're going to move on to cover letters. So a cover letter tells your story. It explains why you're a specific good fit for this job and organization. You want yours to focus on missions, values, and cultural fits. It's super important that you do not just copy and paste what you've added into your resume. I always like to say your cover letter is your time to shine. So in your resume, you have to be a little bit more rigid with it. You're adding specific bullet points. But in your cover letter, you can give the hiring manager more of a story, more of that narrative about how you do what you do. Now, if someone says cover letter, you don't have to add a cover letter, but they have a space for you to add a cover letter, you want to be the person who adds the cover letter. Even if the hiring manager decides not to read the cover letter and just bring you in with the resume, you never know what type of hiring manager that you're dealing with. I've heard some hiring managers say that they don't read the cover letter as much anymore. And I've heard hiring managers say that if they don't add a cover letter, then they're not reading the resume. So you want to be in that position where you have both your documents and they're well written. So I'm adding that research again. Make sure before you write this cover letter that you know the missions and values of the specific company that you're applying for. And how do those missions and values align with you and your missions and values and your professional and personal goals? You see how everything is kind of aligning together? You want to make sure that you do that. And sometimes this is why people say finding a full-time job is a full-time job, because if you are doing this for each job, it's going to be timely. But make sure that you give yourself that time, because it will make all the difference. So you can do this by obviously looking on the company website, looking at news articles. If you want to know a little bit more about your field and industry, ONET is a great online resource where you can learn a little bit more about your field. It's really, really a good resource. I still utilize it as a career counselor, as well as Occupational Outlook Handbook and different professional associations. So almost every major has a professional association or many tied to that specific major. And so you want to make sure that you're going on and you're looking at these different associations. And if you're currently a student, this might be something you really want to kind of look into, because being a part of professional organizations as a student are usually half of the price. And so these organizations are a group of like-minded individuals coming together. They're doing research, webinars, they have groups where they come and they talk, and sometimes it's national and sometimes it's state-wise. And obviously, as we are dealing with COVID, we're a little bit less likely to meet, but they're still doing things virtually. They're doing webinars and seminars. And so you want to make sure that you're getting in on this. I've seen professional associations for students be $25, but for a professional be $500. So that's something to look into as well. And you want to make sure that you're continuing to network, even online, and utilizing information interviews, which I'll talk about in a moment. All right, so tips for writing your body paragraphs. You want to make sure that this is your time where you're giving some more explanation. Decide what you want the employee to know about you as a person and a professional, as well as the different roles and responsibilities that you've had. Very important not to repeat the exact same thing that you have from your resume. You want to make sure that you go into depth about something specifically, or that you're talking about something different. Don't mention anything just for the sake of saying it. Make sure that you have some extra meat to it. Make sure you're explaining it so that they can understand and get a better view of you as a professional. Okay, so utilize the same style and font size and margins that you did for your resume so that it can be consistent. Emphasize on your strongest and most relevant qualifications. Just like the resume, you don't want to just add things because you did them. Make sure you're adding them with purpose. Keep it clear and concise, and make sure that you're considering the missions and values of the employer. What I like to do is to start with my educational credential and then tie in that mission and value piece and how it aligns with me as a professional. Tailor this to each position. So a hiring manager can tell a cookie cutter cover letter every single time. They can tell if you have just pushed this cover letter out to 100 different people. I talked to an alumni recently, and he said, Kristen, I've applied to 100 jobs. And my first question was, did you cater your cover letter and resume to these jobs? And he said, no. So it's quality over quantity. You have to remember that. And if you want someone to review your documents, Career Development is here for you. So looking for openings online. So you can start with Indeed and other job boards such as Glassdoor or Monster. But I also want you guys to look at the company websites. A lot of companies are utilizing job boards such as Indeed, but some of them only post on their own job boards. That's why it's important to have that 15 to 20 key places that you would want to work, because you'll be coming back to their specific job boards. So you want to make sure you don't miss anything from them specifically. Career development is currently changing our platform. So previously we were Career Central, and now we will be utilizing Handshake, and that is coming soon. So we will have that for both current students and alumni, and you'll get an email very soon for that. If you want to learn a little bit more about what you can do with this major, there is a literal site called What Can I Do with This Major that you should check out. And also ONET can help with that as well. We want you to put yourself in the employer's shoes. A lot of people kind of reverse their search. So they're starting from websites and recruitment agencies and professional organizations, but employers are hiring in the other direction. So we want to make sure that you are not only looking on websites, but that you're also utilizing those professional organizations, utilizing networking. Maybe right now you're only utilizing LinkedIn. That's fine. It's the perfect place to utilize networking right now within a pandemic, because you have to think about it in the employer's frame of reference as well. So the more you put yourself out there, the better. I've gotten from some students like, Kristen, I don't have a big network. But you have to think about it as, yes, you do. You have friends, you have family. Think about potential supervisors that you currently have and that you had previously, your advisors, any professional organization, social events, volunteer organizations. I'm finding that there are some really good volunteer opportunities virtually. Any clubs or sports or faculty, community events, conference speakers. They do still have conferences virtually now. So that might be something you want to look into. Social media, people from the gym, people from your dentist or doctor's office. I find I had really interesting conversations with my dentist, and he knew a variety of different people in higher education. So just because you're talking to somebody not in your major doesn't mean that they don't know people. So you have to think about that. And not only know that you have a network, but how are you going to strategically utilize this network for them to help you and also for you to help them? It has to be a genuine relationship. So best job leads are your personal network. The friends you grew up with, your parent and their parents and family, your family. They know you, they trust you, and you can ask them for referrals. But be specific and make sure you're not wasting their time, or the person who they're referring to you, their time either. Be consistent. So there's different ways to expand your network. You can attend lectures and conferences in your field. Now, I know some people are saying, Kristen, what? It's COVID. But I'm finding that there are a lot of conferences and lectures that they have transferred to make it virtual. So you want to check that out for your field. Get involved with a professional organization. Talk to us at Career Development. Utilize informational interviews. Get on different mailing lists. I know that they have a variety of mailing lists across the university based on your major. Attend networking events virtually, and you can even volunteer virtually. It might be a little bit harder to job saddle virtually, but think about that for the future. And then also utilize your professional networks. And you can go to job fairs virtually. Quick tips. So when you're researching a job and you don't know the title, just enter your degree and your qualifications in the search box, and you'll get jobs that ask for your degrees and your qualifications. So sometimes we don't know specific job titles that we might really, really enjoy. We just know we enjoy our field and we want to do something in it. Simply enter your degree and then you'll get jobs based on, and different titles that you can even research based on your specific degree. These are a couple of places where it's awesome to learn those job titles. Talked about ONET and Outlook Handbook, but then also those professional organizations and some other company websites, their career sections. And Indeed is doing a really, really good job of breaking things down during COVID. So I definitely say try Indeed. You want to make sure that your online presence is strong, especially during COVID-19, because it's one of the things that we can lead with and that we can actually do consistently. So update that LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have a professional picture. Make sure that you've added all the jobs that you want a hiring manager to see or view. Make sure you have an excellent professional summary posted on there, as well as build out your profile as much as you can. Update your website. If you don't have one and you feel like it's something within your industry that a lot of people have and you just don't have one, Wix is a great site to build a website, and a place to showcase your skills and your expertise and your interest. It can not only, I feel like when you're creating websites and you're getting crafty, it's not just about doing it professionally, but it's also, it can help boost your confidence up as a professional, especially in a time where it's kind of a lot of what ifs going on. You want to make sure you clean up your internet footprint. So maybe the person who you are today is not the person who you were 10 years ago, but it's still online. You want to make sure that you're deleting a lot of things that don't make sense for your professional life, especially if you're going to utilize Facebook or Instagram or Twitter for professional purposes, which you can do. And if you'd like to do that, you want to definitely view our YouTube page for Roosevelt Career Development. We have some social media do's and don'ts presentation that you definitely want to check out. And so clean up that footprint. It's the perfect time to do it. And make sure that your presence is active online and make it meaningful. There's a lot of different ways to do that. And if you need ideas, feel free to reach out. So, recruiters seeking job candidates. In 2016, 92% utilized LinkedIn and 55% utilized Facebook. So I'd say in 2020 that might even be larger, because it's one of our sole ways of communication is online. So you want to make sure that that presence is a plus. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you create one. And if you don't know what to add or how to add it, we are here to help you. I'm going to keep saying the research piece, and I did this on purpose because a lot of the times people are really not into the research piece, but it's most important when you are looking for a job. So make sure you're researching those missions, those values, what they're doing in the news. If it's a large company, those different advancements and innovations that they potentially have, make sure you do that. Know the job description, as we talked about earlier. You want to make sure that you know these key things. And sometimes all job descriptions do not have these. A lot of job descriptions these days might not have expected salary or perks and benefits, but you're going to get the job scope, a little bit about the company, and those key roles and responsibilities that they're looking for. You want to make sure that you're aligning that cover letter and resume to the job description specifically as well. So you can speak to your professors and different people in your department to help you with their job search. After I graduated Roosevelt, I had one specific professor who was really with me in the job search and just helped me build up my professional confidence. And she's currently one of my mentors. So you see how that can crisscross, and you see how you want to utilize your resources at your school. You can ask alums in your desired field for introduction. We do have an alumni association, so you can potentially ask for the alumni association to connect you with someone. You can ask your LinkedIn contacts, and you can volunteer. That might be something to think about in the future, but there are some volunteer virtual experiences as well. And once again, join a professional association and then actually be active within that association. You want to make sure that you're paying this $25 a year. You want to make sure you're utilizing every penny of it. So you can do information interviewing. You can visit our career development websites and Handshake when it goes live, as well as usajobs.org. And you can also secure an internship. There are a lot of virtual internships that I'm finding when I'm just doing a general Indeed or Glassdoor search. And internships can help build that experience. And research shows that people who have an internship are more likely to get a job within, that first 6 months after they graduate. So you want to see if you can have that experience. It might be a little bit more harder right now, but I know a variety of companies are switching to virtual internships for students. Okay, so I talked a lot about informational interviews in the previous slide. And so informational interviews, they're very, very useful. They're one of the most underutilized forms of networking. And so in this interview, you are coming up with who you want to talk to. And so for me, I like to utilize LinkedIn and back into it the alumni route of different people who are within my major and who graduated from Roosevelt. And then I just contact them and ask them for 45 minutes to an hour of their time to talk about, how did they get to where they are today? Especially in the time of COVID, what are some of those tips you can tell a young professional? There's so many different questions that you can ask, but what you do want to do is make sure that you have these questions prepared because you are leading this. This is your time to learn more about the field, learn more about the industry, learn a little bit more about what it's like to work for a specific company that you might be interested in. And that's one of those key ways to kind of develop a contact for those 15 to 20 companies that we're interested in that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Just like within any interview, after you've done this information interview, and you're most likely going to be doing it virtually, you want to send them a thank you note. Thank them for their time and their consideration. Mention something that you talked about and how you enjoyed discussing it with them. And try to keep this person in your network. It can get hard, but you want to make sure that you are doing this consistently. If you've never done an information interview, I think that during COVID-19, especially if you are looking for a job or internship, I think it's super paramount to make sure that you're doing this. And I would do this by utilizing LinkedIn and going on Roosevelt University and looking at alumni. And I just type in my major and you'll see alumni from your different major. If you have a tie with this person, they are more likely to get back to you. But you can also do this by utilizing your network, your parents, your neighbors, your friends. Do they know anybody in the industry who they can refer you to as well? So make sure you're asking good questions. If you're going to take up somebody's time, make sure you're asking them specific questions, one in which you will get good information out of. Because if anything, informational interview is a good research tool. So even if you don't keep in contact with this person, it's a great research tool. But I do say try to keep in contact. Keep up with them. So make sure that, you have their card. Some people have the virtual card. Make sure you have their information. Make sure that you add them to LinkedIn, especially if it was someone who you genuinely connected with and you feel like you can learn more from them and potentially you have something to offer them as well. Don't let it be one-sided. So you also want to be prepared to work virtually. So you've written an excellent resume and cover letter. You've interviewed, phone interview, in-person interview, or virtually, and now you've got the job. you want to make sure that you have updated technology. And some places are giving their workers laptops and computers, and some places aren't. So even if you haven't updated, make sure you're saving up some money. So just in case you might have to get updated technology, make sure that your internet connection is amazing and that you have a designated place for work. This will help you actually get into work, because if you're working from bed all day, it doesn't separate church from state. You work there, you sleep there all day. Try your best, even if you have a small place, to get a desk or a table where you know this is your designated place for work. Make sure you stay connected to your managers, your co-workers, and key stakeholders within your company. This can be done by Zoom, over the phone, through emails, but make sure you stay connected with these people, especially if you've just started working there. And then you want to attend all virtual events from your company. They have, I'm seeing companies have virtual happy hours and Q&As. A lot of companies really want to keep their workers in the know. So you want to make sure that you, in your schedule, allot time to attend these so that you can be, so you can kind of put yourself within the company as much as possible, as much as you can virtually. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Sometimes when you're online, it's way different than when you're in person, where you can sit down and you can just knock on somebody's door and ask them a couple questions. You might feel like you don't want to continuously bother them, but you're not bothering them. Better you ask for clarification than to get it wrong. So make sure you have confidence around that piece in yourself professionally. All right. So the Office of Career Development provides a variety of different services. We still have career counseling appointments, which are one-on-one with a career counselor, either myself or Teresa or our grad associates. And we help from a variety of different topics, such as resume and cover letter reviews, as well as graduate school plans, interviewing. We do mock interviews. I'm going to change that one soon to handshake. And we do student employment. There still are some student employment slots, even virtually. We do career assessment. So say you don't know exactly what you want to do within your major, or you don't know what you want to do at all. We'll do assessments, and then we'll go over that to kind of give you a framework of potentially what you, based on your personality and your interests, might want to get into. All right. So now's the time for questions. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you feel like you need more help, please contact the Office of Career Development. Here is our telephone number, this is our email, and this is our website within the Roosevelt website. You can also follow us at RU Career on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can join our LinkedIn group, Roosevelt Connect, as well. So thank you guys for joining us today, and I'm going to now view your questions if you have any. So if you have any questions right now, go ahead and add them in the Q&A portion, and I will wait and see if we have any questions. All right, Gerardo, you have an excellent question. How can career development facilitate networking skills, or how can they help in this area? That's a great question. So, depending on what your field is, or what your confidence levels are, we can specifically work on a networking plan for you specifically. So what I would say is go ahead and create an appointment with us. And we do those virtually via Zoom, or we can also do them over the phone as well. Because everybody's going to have a specific plan that works specifically for them a little bit better. So we can definitely help you with that, Gerardo. Great question. Deborah, would a handout be created? Um, we will have this presentation on YouTube. So if you click in the search box, Roosevelt University Career Development, then you'll find this presentation. It'll most likely be up next week. And you'll find all the presentations that we've done over the past couple of months via Zoom. You'll find those there too. You're welcome, Deborah. Yes, career um, development is moving to Handshake because it's an excellent platform and it's a lot easier for students and more accessible for them. And once you kind of learn the ins and outs of it, and Handshake does a great job of having tutorials, then we know that students are going to enjoy it as well. You're welcome, Gerardo. Um, I'm going to leave it open for questions for the next couple of minutes. Feel free if you have one, go ahead and answer. Ask. So Gerardo is asking, does career development have any networking skills specifically for public administration or government, or setting up informational interviews with alumni? Gerardo, I know you have our my specific email. So go in and email me this so that I can connect you with Christy. She can potentially help you get connected with a specific alumni to set up an information interview. And then also we can talk a little bit more about doing that through LinkedIn as well, Gerardo. So if you guys are really, really interested in information interviews and you want to know a little bit more about kind of how to back into it a little bit, and kind of potentially get a little assistance there, then definitely let us know. All right. I want to thank you so much for participating and asking good questions. Oh, one more. Let's see. As a graduate, I've been in a job for 18 years. How can I change my resume for career versus job? Can you tell me, can you add a little bit more to that, Deborah? Career versus job. Are you um, in another major? Tell me a little bit more. Okay. Are you getting your graduate degree in something different? Okay. Um, how about this? I'm gonna give you my email so we can talk offline. And for anyone else, You can email me as well, and we can set up a time we can discuss this more specifically so that we can cater something that specifically works for you. And anybody else who's on this, you can feel free to reach out and email me as well. Thank you all so much for joining me. And in this time of COVID-19, I am hoping that everyone is staying safe, but also staying encouraged, which is super important as well. Once again, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at RU Career. And you can also join our LinkedIn group, Roosevelt Connect. You guys have a beautiful evening, and I look forward to connecting with you guys soon. Bye.